Hey everybody, welcome to BS session 100. People have told me all my life that I'd never make it to 100. Those losers can suck it.
Because I have a shotgun and rifle that I use for, and 22 gauge that I use for ptarmigan, moose, and black bear.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
You're listening to your weekly dose of BS, ballistically speaking. The Ballistically Speaking Podcast.
Suck it, Trebek. You guys remember that?
Celebrity Jeopardy.
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Yeah, Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name. Celebrity Jeopardy.
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name. Celebrity Jeopardy.
Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Echo.
I'm getting real bad echo. I don't know if it's just me.
Podcast.
Oh, yeah, Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Echo.
I'm getting real bad echo. I don't know if it's just me.
Podcast.
Oh, yeah, Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
Echo.
I'm getting real bad echo.
You okay? We'll unmute you, Mike.
Is it me?
No, it was Tom.
It's Tom.
What the heck? All right.
I swear it was working.
I knew he wouldn't pass the sniff test. Did you sniff him?
No, I can't spell anything.
All right, Tom, let's try you. Let's see if you're getting a feedback, echo.
Should be okay now, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. What the heck is that all?
Oh, you got to go off with a bang. 100 sound effects.
I may or may not have had a tab open. My bad.
I see. All right. There needs to be some punishment. All right, folks.
Tabs open.
Yeah, great. Good work. Need some training.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry about that.
It happens.
Welcome, Tom. Welcome,
you.
everybody that's going up so far. Welcome, everybody that's downloaded and is now driving in their F-150s through the bald-ass prairies, hoping they're not going to snow.
Please don't.
Let's get on with our bills that we need to pay every week. Our show tonight, as always, is brought to you by EM Precision Rifles in Leduc, Alberta, building Canada's finest precision rifles. Commission a build today at emprifles.ca.
And we also have Bolt Action Coffee, bringing specialty coffee to the precision shooting world. Order coffee and merchandise at boltactioncoffee.com.
And call sign 66, Canada's best rifle training. Welcome to the Brotherhood, as they say. Book a course now at callsign66.ca.
And we don't want to forget Odell Engineering. Pick up a Canuck shotgun or Bergara rifle from your local distributor and tell them Phil sent you. Look them up on Instagram, Flakebook, and on their website at odellengineeringlimited.com. And be sure to go check out the new Canuck Wrangler in 357 and especially the tactical one.
Especially the tactical one. All right, Apex Optics is with us as well. When you buy Apex, precision comes standard. Excuse me. Check out all the fine competition rifle scopes, red dots, and binoculars at apexoptics.co. The red dots have arrived. Get yours today. The Atom and the Fusion. Is there anything new coming out just recently? It seems like there's for quite a long time, every couple of months, we get something else coming out.
I think it's one of those, if we told you we'd have to kill you things.
Yeah. Well, that could be fun too.
Not when everyone you know owns precision rifles.
Well, there's some validity to that, yeah.
And we also have Ribstone Gunsmithing, craftsmanship done right. Contact Oscar at ribstonegunsmithing.ca and breathe life back into any firearm.
And finally, we're here with March Scopes Canada. The Dion Optical Design line of rifle scopes has a scope for all your hunting and shooting needs. Find Doug and Niza at marchscopes.ca. Did you notice I got all the .cas and the .co today? You got all the comms?
I did.
Weird.
Sometimes you're just lucky.
Sometimes you feel like a nut. All right.
So,
Tom, the Canadian operator. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
Can you
It's nice
see
to be here. Not really. It's very bright and very dark in here at the same time, but we'll go ahead and just have to have him on for the intro.
Oh,
the unmasked.
We're going to call you Tom Ray Charles.
It's not often we do this, right? So, it's a special moment. It's the 100th episode. So, yeah, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here and looking forward to this.
Now you're exposed. Your face will be on posters everywhere.
I know, right? I want to be memed everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, I can only assume. No personal.
Okay, it's already happened on Discord, so it's bound to happen everywhere else soon enough.
Happens in real life too.
All right,
so Tom, who are you? Let's give us a little background on Tom. Who is Tom?
Sure. So my name is Tom. Some of you guys know me as Canadian Operator. We've been on YouTube for a couple of years now. It's actually our second year. We started around, I want to say Christmas Day of 22, around there. It was our first video. And we make firearm videos all around various different types of firearm subjects, including safety, responsible ownership, laws, and legislation. And we do gear reviews as well. So kind of a bit of a mashup of everything. But figured there was a bit of a lacking of that in Canada, especially. So given the political landscape at the time when the channel was created, I decided, well, this is kind of what I want to do. So here we are.
Bueno.
That is something I noticed looking at your channel before we even actually met, and we can get into that later, is you have videos of we got reviews, but how to get your pal online. Like there's a video. How many other people have that video out there for the Canadians? Probably not that many.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to bring something more than just, anybody can do a review. Anybody can buy something or borrow something and show it off on YouTube and say, hey, by the way, check out what I have. It's got all these cool buttons on it and it shoots things and it's great. But like we wanted to also contribute to society a little bit. And so I guess that's part of where that education part comes in, especially that education part I feel was really lacking on YouTube. Obviously one of our my personal biggest I suppose you could say heroes before this was Rod Giltaka of Civil Advantage Firearms Training. That's one of the big reasons why I started the channel. I feel like as he moved on to doing greater things with the CCFR in his current role, obviously he didn't have as much time in the whole training aspect, the education aspect, the awareness aspect. And I wanted to fill a little bit of that gap and, just provide something that people can learn and grow from. And it also gave me a lot of opportunities to learn from other people as well.
Well, considering that the Canadian firearms community is so small that we were almost kind of relying on one guy to cover all of that territory, it was kind of blindsided on our end. So thank you for taking up the mantle of that.
Well, I mean, it's not just me. I can't say enough about the wonderful community that we've built and that I've also seen in places like this, like the Ballistically Speaking podcast and other channels. I want to give Epic Arms maybe a little shout out here as well. I mean, there's a bunch that I can't just think up off the top of my head, but it's not just ever one person or one channel that does everything, right? Each of us have a little something to offer. And I think coming together and working as a community is how we're going to get anywhere. So
I think it'd be cool if we could do more collabs, but man, we got a big country.
I know, eh? If there was only something that could connect us all.
Right.
Like an airline that didn't suck.
Yeah. And that was instant and didn't cost you anything.
I would even take half reliable at this point.
Thank goodness I don't have to do much flying other than just coming up to site here.
Yeah, I haven't had to fly for work for a while, so I'm sure what it's like right now. I'm flying to King of Point 2 miles in Ontario next week, so that should be interesting.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm missing next week's show. I'm sacrificing to go show the Eastern guys how you shoot far with the 22.
Well,
Canada how to not do it.
That.
Look how far Canada's come as a community. We now have a ELR 22 series in Canada. That's going to have multiple events next year. Like the gun community is growing, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's a matter of just everybody helping each other out and growing awareness, growing advocacy, helping each other out. Like, I mean, if I can just briefly speak for some of the new guys that come into our Discord, for example, there's people that come in there that know nothing. And not that that's a bad thing. I mean, they come in there, but what gives me kind of this nice little warm, fuzzy feeling in my stomach is you see, you know, when I'm not online, for example, or I'm doing other things, or maybe we're shooting a video, there's other people that just start to encircle this person and just be like, hey,
Right.
I know this, I can help you out with that. And there's another guy that does reloading, and he's like, well, if you're ever ready to do that, I can help you with this. And then suddenly they're just inundated with offers for help. And you know, something they probably didn't even see coming. So it's just so nice to see how, at least from my perspective, and I'm sure that this exists everywhere else in the firearms community as well, everybody's just so willing to help and provide their time and mentor somebody or teach them something. That's really what we need more of.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when Canadian Gun Nuts was way back when it was almost a little bit that way in some parts of it.
Before it went full Mad Max Thunderdome.
And, oh my God! Now it's just
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks that. But
a bunch of fucking losers.
Yeah, but that was forums back in the day. It was the Wild Wild West, which I kind of miss at the same time. But like when they were popular, they were great. But now that it's kind of dwindled and their Facebook and everything else exists, they're not as
I'm
they're a hidden
surprised.
gem to some people. But
Yeah,
it almost feels like the Reddit of the Canadian firearms world.
yeah, no kidding.
kind of.
Yeah.
I just don't
Not in a
look
good
at
way.
Reddit anymore. I just don't
No.
go on Reddit.
Every once in a
Yeah,
while,
do
I'll
I.
go take a walk down memory lane and go lurk through Canadian Gun Nuts and some of the old forums that I actually used to participate in, and it's like, wow, you people need to get out.
Actually, go out and
So
shoot
much.
more. I will say though, the news page, I don't mind perusing for new stuff because sometimes they're on the
Yeah.
ball quicker than anybody
Yeah,
else.
that's really about it, and the equipment exchange for components and like ammunition components and what is it, gunsmithing. Now they have gunsmithing tools, I think, supplies. They have bundled together in there now, and that's about all.
Yeah, I remember when we first started out, I wanted to get a little exposure for the channel, and we kind of posted some videos there, I mean, in the right sections, mind you. But there'd be so many people just like, "Yeah, get a real job, pal." It's just like, all right, cool, man. Glad to feel welcome here.
Right.
A few weeks of that, and I was like, okay, I'll be on my way. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going
Oh
to stick
my
with this
God.
thanks to my community feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well,
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
with the branching out of, I'm going to call them Canadian Guntubers, is some of the FUD lore's kind of been tamped down a little bit. At least
Yeah, it
to
doesn't
an extent,
seem as strong. Yeah.
prevalent,
Yeah.
except for like gun shows.
Yeah, speaking of which, I was really glad to meet you guys over at TechCom. I mean, I didn't know where you were from at the time, but it was just very surprising to see you traverse such a long distance just to come to TechCom, which is a less good SHOT Show, I guess. And with how much smaller it's been getting, that's the only thing I've noticed. I've heard a lot of people talking about that and saying how it's actually kind of dwindled, like not just with attendance, but with all the booths and stuff, like the manufacturers and distributors and all that.
Rumor I heard of some of the manufacturers, because of all of the nonsense our government's, like they're not coming in here till we have better access to display.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah.
The TACOM was a blast this year. Like we had 4 new semi-autos come out.
Yeah, man. We had, what was it? So I know BCL came out with one. That was I think the Grizzly. They had
Grizzly 308.
they had a Badger too, didn't they? But I don't know if that was a semi-auto.
Yeah, it was like the
Mhm.
upgraded race gun version of the Siberian,
Mm.
I believe. Different
Yeah,
parts.
and then Sterling Arms with the R18, which is
That was-
actually potentially getting my hands on it. So we'll see. But I actually quite like the design. I didn't pay much attention, to be honest, to Sterling before that, but They're pretty passionate, man, about what they do.
And if I said HK vibes, when you look at the Sterling, does that pan out or?
Yeah, I mean, especially for the R9, because the R9 uses the MP5 mags, right? Which at first I was like, I don't know if I like that, but they explained. Oh, we did a bit with them and in our TechCon video. If I can, if that's okay, if I can talk about that.
Plug away, my friend.
Yeah, shameless self promotion. Why not? But yeah, we did like a 27-minute thing with them with JR from Sterling, and I mean, the guy just. If I could ever meet my match, and I mean this in the best possible way, just in case he's watching, he was it. Because he just, I just lit the fuse, and then he just kept going.
Yeah,
he has
a tendency.
He was
to do
very
that,
passionate.
sure.
But he's a gem. He's a gem of a human being. Seriously, like I mean, everything aside, he's just very sincere. He's very genuine. I really like people like that. There's a lot of people that you talk to, and especially about products and stuff, and it's almost like they're reading you like a laundry list of features and stuff like that. But there's no soul there. There's no passion. Whereas when JR was talking about his stuff, I mean, you could just see physically the guy was invested. And I didn't see that really from anybody at the show except for them. Maybe
it was the first release too, though. That was the first time anyone's seen that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I was gonna say maybe Tandem Cross. They showed a lot of passion as well with a lot of their stuff. But yeah,
and now Tandem Cross is some nice stuff.
They do, man. Yeah.
What did they come out with recently? I thought, wasn't there something that, so they had that whole trigger pack that was a couple of years ago. They came out with that, right? And now, did I see that they came out with something else recently?
They had the Manticore X, I think. That was a whole lower for the 1022. That was really cool because they had like their own trigger and their own grip and everything. And then I think they showed off some barrels too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it was interesting because we were there for like early in, staying late, and 3 days, and still didn't get all the videos I wanted to shoot.
I almost felt like that because we went there on Friday. I was thinking like, okay, why don't we just go Saturday, because Saturday will be a little busier, but there's going to be a lot more buzz. But I'm so glad we went Friday because we literally did something like 10 or 12 interviews that day, and it wasn't dead, but it was quiet. I came back the next day with my wife just as a customer, just to walk around and have some fun. Ended up still working my ass off anyway, but it was so much busier. There were like 3 times more people. It was nuts, and I couldn't imagine actually doing interviews on a Saturday. Like it was packed.
Wow! So it was quite a bit busier than the last couple of years. I know, Mike, you'd come back from last year and you weren't wildly impressed by it.
Well, no, it was a bigger area and there was more booths. So even if there was less people, it felt like there was less people. You could have the same amount. It's a space issue.
I gotcha. All right, room to grow though.
But it was kind of cool. We were sitting. Me and Derek were there. We're like, "Okay, let's go get food." And I look over and I'm like, "I see the shades. He's eating pizza like the rest of us or something." So we just walk up.
I heard the magic words.
We just walk up. Are you a Canadian operator? And you're like, "Oh,
are you that handsome, charming, well-spoken, really handsome YouTuber that everybody just loves and adores and is so humble, by the way?
Very modest, yes.
Very modest."
Excellent.
Oh, you guys, Karen by the Rito has posed a very challenging question. Do we want to tackle this?
Let's see.
Not that one. The one before.
The one
first time watching. Yeah. Can any of you chronologically walk through the changes to the gun regulation? For example, May 2020 handgun ban, then what? Duck hunting guns, etc. It's all very hard to track. Yes, you're not alone, Karen. It is very hard to track. Do you guys want to tackle this?
How far back?
Yeah, I was going to say that's by design, I think.
Well, it is. Absolutely.
Mike, do you want to take a swing at it first so I don't look like I don't know what I'm talking about?
I think we could. I think it requires a joint effort.
I think so.
Frankly.
Well, I'll delegate to the host here.
Okay, so in roughly, hold on 1 second. I'm getting food delivered.
Oh, wow.
I can.
So in about 18 something in Toronto, dueling was very popular. So that's where the handgun registry, I believe, started. Was back in the 1850s, just because dueling was happening. So that's when the first kind of part into gun control started. I believe in the 1930s is when you first had to register.
Karen's already come
in 2020.
on, cut to the chase.
I didn't know we were going to go that far back, honestly, but I'm really enjoying this.
let's take care of Karen first, and then
Okay.
then maybe we can dive into the super history.
Well, we covered a little bit of this. I don't know if you guys are okay. I'll chime in a little bit here with maybe started off around 2020.
Yeah.
So in 2020, in May of 2020, there was the OIC, the Ordering Council. Essentially, they banned thousands of different models of, and I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it because they said it, assault-style weapons.
Right.
There's so much wrong with that, and I did a whole video about that, so go watch that if you want to check it out. But
well, there's so much wrong with that. Not only that, the terminology, but the way the OIC came out in the first place. Okay, I'm talking Nova Scotia. You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. And those ignorant cocksuckers used that, rode the backs of those poor fucking people to install this shit, to push it. Anyway, I'm gonna try and regulate myself here. Carry on.
No. By all means, that was a crucial fact that I did not talk about, and I should have. So, yeah, it was a horrible thing what happened to Nova Scotia. But the guy was known to RCMP to be a douche, and he had previous records, and there was stuff known about him where action could have been taken, and they chose not to. And anyway, that's a conversation for maybe another time. But the OIC came about as a part of that. And unfortunately, not too long after, they started to really push the whole C21. So essentially, anything semi-automatic, I guess the definition would have been anything that has a detachable box magazine that was originally designed to take more than 5 rounds, anything that shoots centerfire ammunition and is semi-automatic in nature. And those are ANTs, so it has to be all of those things. Part of that terminology eventually made it into C21. So since that time up until about, I want to say 2022, late 2022.
Can I interrupt just a bit here, Tom?
Oh, by all means, yeah.
But there were a couple other points in there as well. There was bore size, so that really ambiguous. What was it, 20 millimeters, which could or may not include 12 gauge shotguns, depending on where you measure in the bore. That was, nobody ever bothered to touch that one. It's just, we'll keep that in there. And we'll just forget about answering for any of it. The other thing was the 10,000 joule muzzle energy limit. So that means, the 50 BMGs and similar big grunters. And this is where a lot of the Weatherby bolt action big, like the dangerous game rifles, people started to realize, hey, my 460 Weatherby or 416 Weatherby or whatever, or 458 lot, even not Weatherby, but anyway, that probably with my 500 or 450 grain bullet at 23 or 400 feet per second, I do the calculation, that's over that 10,000 joule limit. Now you're banning my goddamn hunting rifle.
Yeah.
That I use once every 6 years for an African. So people started to realize this was even more bullshit than what it appeared to be in the first place. Okay.
Well, I think
Tom, you're doing a hell of a job. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
A couple of crucial points. I thought
a group effort. It's important because each of us has different memories, and it's good to fill in those little gaps.
Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was part of C21, which they were trying to push basically after the OIC all the way through 2022. And I think part of that was also then we had G4 and G46 that were coming in, which were amendments that the Liberal government actually tried to introduce right at the very last minute. So just very quickly, just to interrupt myself for a second, the way things kind of work in terms of getting legislation through is it's got to go through the House. Then sometimes or in some cases, you can have it go through the House committee. So in this case, it was going through the House Committee on Public Safety. This was in the day of Marco Mendicino when he was still around. And essentially, once it goes through through consideration, they have a number of expert witnesses. They have people that come in that are in various industries to talk about the impacts of a proposed law. At that point, if it passes that, it goes through essentially to the Senate. And then at that point, the Governor General needs to give it royal assent after that, once it's passed the Senate, and then it becomes law. So essentially what the Liberal government did was they introduced G4 and G46. G4 was, they were both amendments, but they introduced them after everybody had basically done speaking. So they brought in people from the gun lobby. They brought in people from Poly and Doctors Against whatever that was called. Sorry, I'm not trying to be weird. I just legitimately can't remember the name. Doctors Against Violence or something like that.
Doctors Against anything sensible and fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody had their say. It was thoroughly discussed. And then the government's like, oh, yeah, we have this amendment G4 and this other amendment G46. And essentially what it was G4 was an evergreening clause, which actually ended up becoming a part of C21, which says that anything that's designed and manufactured after Bill C21 becomes law, that is a semi-automatic centerfire with a detachable magazine with 6 or more rounds in it is going to be banned. Now, the reason why that Second Amendment came out was because they realized that they were kind of shooting themselves in the foot, for lack of better words, with that First Amendment, because it wasn't actually covering everything. It was not a retrospective amendment. So what they did was they released about a 400-page document as the Second Amendment, which included literally by name thousands of various firearms to be also banned on top of what the first part of the First Amendment would cover. And I'm almost done, I promise, but I really want to get this point in because I think it's really important and it highlights just how little the Liberal government actually knows about firearms. There were two things that really bothered me in that, other than just the whole thing. One was the GSG-16, which, as you guys know, is a very popular, beginner-friendly, light, easy-to-use 22 caliber rifle, semi-automatic. It's sold everywhere. Everybody loves it. And they wanted to ban it because they said it was a variant of the MP5. What's interesting is that Heckler & Koch, the developers of the MP5 and its actual variants, actually sued GSG not once but twice because GSG looked too similar to an MP5. So it actually highlights how it was nothing like an MP5 because they had to change it. German sports guns had to change the design in order for it to comply and not violate Heckler & Koch's patents, right? The other issue was the Mossberg 702 and 702T Plinkster, 715T Plinkster.
715, yeah, you bet.
Yeah. And
that's exactly what popped to my mind.
Because essentially, if you did your research, you would know that one of them has a wood stock, the other one has a plastic black polymer stock, right?
It's not even a stock, it's a shell.
Well, it's a shell.
It is. It's literally a two-piece shell.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same barreled action. It's exactly the same firearm, the same trigger, the same barrel. Like everything is exactly the same on the inside. But they named the polymer one, the 715T, to be banned, but they left the 702T alone. Or the 702 alone.
Welcome to Canada when you come in. All the things that you think are logical, you can leave them at the hotel.
And it blows my mind because if you were an unfortunate soul that owned one of those guns, if that had passed, which thankfully it didn't, they had to retract those amendments in March of the following year, you would be the proud owner of a firearm that was both a restricted or prohibited device and a non-restricted firearm at exactly the same time.
Yeah. Schrodinger's Mossberg.
Yeah, and so... But it just shows you, like, these people have no idea what they're talking about. It's all pandering for votes and to try to look like they're doing something in front of Poly and all these other guys, but they're really not doing anything.
All the screaming witches over at Poly and the doctors there. Yep.
And now I can't buy a Javelin 148 anti-tank missile. That was listed in the OIC. Because before, apparently, you could own one.
Too,
when you were talking, Tom, I swear to God, even your tone, you said something, everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. They were the greatest things.
Thank you. I'll be here till Thursday. Please, no autographs until after the press conference. Thank you. I'd like to thank my mom. Who else? Jesus Christ. Go ahead. Sorry, it's just having a field day here.
Karen's I'm beginning to think Karen's just here to test us.
Hey,
she says and she comes with another one. She says, when were these amendments added, month and year, if s'il vous plaît? And then she comes with, when, month and year, was it illegal to transport the prohibited firearms listed in the OIC and the amendments? Specifically, was it before February? Karen, are you RCMP?
Is this an open book test?
Right. God damn it. Is there going to be a quiz at the end of this?
I believe once the
I'm all sweaty.
registrations,
Because
once the registrations all got Aladdined for the restricteds and then the NRs.
Did you say
That was
Aladdin?
Yeah, you know, Aladdin.
Yeah, oh,
It was
I know,
either
I know.
Aladdin
That's
or
exactly
Aladdin.
the moment you said that. You are HIV Aladdin.
Huh?
Yeah, great movie, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it. Sorry.
Excellent movie and somehow topical in our current year of 2024.
Yeah, very much so.
Unfortunately.
Month and year, was it illegal to transport? I think I can tackle the first one. I think it was November 2022 that those amendments were introduced, but they were walked back in March of the following year.
I believe you're right on that. It's such a convoluted mess. I can't
remember.
even keep track.
My rage clouds my memory.
Oh man.
Like they didn't even think that through. Like, oh yeah, we got some. I'm assuming there's some doctors that have been to Africa and hunted that may have voted liberal, and they're like, my $250,000 Holland in Holland is now a paperweight.
Right. Yeah.
Like, people forget all of those guns exist. Like your nice African stopping rifle or some of them trap and skeet guns get very, very pricey, and we think our guns.
So
precision world.
So what you guys were referring to, generally speaking, I think was the C-21 stuff, right? But thinking back to, I think it was May 1st, 2020, the OIC, when it came out, that was a full hard stop on everything listed, right? You're not
and handguns too. Weren't handguns a part of that?
No, handguns, because there was the mad rush on handguns until June, I believe, is when they closed the closed the loophole, I guess, to coin a phrase that's bullshit.
Yeah, I remember in 2022. So I don't know exactly when it was introduced. I'm pretty sure in 2022 in October, though. That is when the official ban for handguns came in, and I know that because I was sitting in a CRFSC about 3 weeks prior to that.
Right.
That was brutal, by the way.
Karen says asking for a friend. Whatever, narc.
You've been found out, Karen.
That's it.
I'm afraid all the good questions would have to have been asked at this point. I don't know.
We didn't know your personal thesis agent was coming. We thought we kept them private.
So okay, since we're kind of ways down this vein,
Giggity.
C-21, the OIC. What are your predictions for when what it seems to be now inevitable, the government changes to a conservative majority government? Mm-hmm. Hopefully that stays true. Personally, let me give you, and we kind of went through this several shows ago, didn't we? I'm thinking, yes, Poilievre's talking about it. It's on their radar, on their to-do list or whatever, that going to make gun laws more sensible. Now, the list of shit in this country now that needs to be fixed, where is that set of problems on that list of priorities? That's what worries me. And then the other thing, honestly, that worries me, you know how fickle we are as a population in this country. People with their own personal agendas, preferences, or whatever, because there is so much to fix and try and such a deep ditch to try and claw out of. People go, well, they're not doing anything for the problems that I have, so fuck, I might as well vote liberal again. That is the biggest worry for me. But anyway, I think, you know what, I think the conservatives will reverse as much as is possible. I don't know what tiny writing is in any of that law that's in place now that might prevent that or make that excruciatingly hard to reverse. I think they will do some good things. When will it be? I don't think it'll be immediately.
Tell them about your first round draft picks.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, so I want to go back for a second, and what you're saying is everybody's got their own issues, and where in the list of those priorities does this fall into?
Yeah,
I think it's really, really hard to say, but I think what's important to say is that we don't need to think as individuals anymore. It's okay to think as an individual when you want to take care of your family and your kids and stuff like that. And in that case, you can think about how certain things will affect certain people. But I think as far as legislation and positive change coming for Canada with potentially the new incoming Conservative Party, I think we need to think as a people and not as a person. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of things that need changing, but many of those things are not going to be affecting us very quickly, nor are they going to be affecting us individually. They're going to be affecting us as a country, as a populace.
That's very
right?
true. Yep.
While I personally, and I hate to admit this, but a long time ago when the Liberal Party was still a very slightly to the left of center, but somewhat centrist party, I voted Liberal because some of my values at the time aligned with that. Unfortunately, today...
And that'll be all tonight, folks. Thank you for coming out.
Join us next week. Same time, same channel. But obviously,
I gotta go brush my teeth.
Obviously, things have changed a lot. And I also didn't know that much about politics at the time. And, I obviously started paying attention to them around 2015. As for how fast things are going to come in terms of changes, I think when they do come, I think we're going to see an OIC overturned potentially as the first thing, and maybe some changes with respect to regulation as far as what the RCMP is responsible for. We probably will see something like that. As for C21, that's going to be really hard, and it's going to be a very lengthy process because remember, C21 is law, right? And so it's not the same as an OIC. You can't just use another OIC and just be like, okay, we're done with it. You have to go through the same process by which that became law, which means you have to go through the House, you have to go through the Senate. And if I can remind everybody, the Senate has been staffed very strategically by Justin Trudeau by a huge amount of Liberals because he knows he's on the way out. And he knows that anything that the Conservative Party will try to overturn is going to eventually wind up at the Senate, right?
Right.
So it's hard to say.
Thank you, Mr. Good News.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm cautiously optimistic, as I think we should all be. But yeah.
Well,
on your note,
at least something as a group. Hey, all the stuff that's been thrown at us, we still make adjustments, and we still seem to enjoy. Maybe not our preferred activities, but we still seem to enjoy the shooting sports for the most part, and we are growing.
Not only are we growing, but we're not ignoring each other either.
Yeah.
Like by definition, the gun community in Canada is divided. You have your hunters, you have your trap guys, you got PRS, you got IPSC, you got 3-gun, everyone's got their own little group.
Sure.
And before
we
it
all
was
want the same thing.
Well, I don't think before we did actually want the same thing. I think now we are actually kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a long time people are like, oh, you're preaching to the choir. I'm like, yeah, but the choir's not in tune. We need to be preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
sure. Yeah, it threw a little bit of glue into us.
How many hunters are like, oh, you don't need a semi-auto? And I was going the other way. Like, I only want to hunt with semi-auto just because you guys think you can't do it.
Well, I mean, just like any other tool that you'll use, right? There's going to be inherent advantages and disadvantages given the situation, right? But why don't we look at that as opposed to looking at it as a weapon, for example, or something like that? When we have this discussion in our Discord all the time. Somebody, so especially from the U.S. And don't get me wrong, I love my U.S. brothers and sisters, but man. Sometimes they'll come in and be like, yeah, man, I got this new weapon, this and that. And I go, that thing's not a weapon. They're like, what do you mean? And I go, well, we don't use it as a weapon.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. It's a tool. If you go out and you, God forbid, use it to hurt somebody, then yeah, it's a weapon. Right. And in this case, it was a guy who was actually in the forces. So I tried to be kind of lenient on him and, try to understand, okay, for him, it was a weapon. Yeah. But this is kind of the discourse that we need to have, especially with people who are not gun people. And it's not a matter of convincing them to think that they need to love guns and suddenly become a gun owner. It's giving them the other side of the spectrum and just say, hey, we hate violence just as much as you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't consider these weapons because we don't use them as weapons.
No.
And when the liberals are out there in the media calling for getting the guns off the street, well, my response to that is my guns are in my safe. I don't know what
Right.
guns
Get
you're
the
talking
fucking guns off the street then. Leave mine alone.
Right.
Sons of
But
bitches.
that's what I'm saying. I think it's important if we're going to teach others and have a educated discussion about these things is that we use the proper terms, right? We use the right rhetoric, and we call a spade and not a small spoon, right?
Yeah. Well, even if the liberals were logically consistent, because I believe some of them are quite open to decriminalize every drug on the planet imaginable in some circles. Yeah, but in the same circle, they're like, to stop gun violence, we must ban all guns, but at the same time, stop overdoses. Everyone needs to be high as a kite.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. There's nuance to that story, but from 5,000 foot view, that's kind of what it looks
Again,
like.
with the logic, I don't know. It escapes me somehow.
Seems to be a pattern here.
Yeah.
I'm no statistician, but man, I might as well be one now.
Oh man, what I would argue, modern Canadian firearms owner is damn near a political science major.
Well, you pretty much have to be to understand any of this stuff, right?
And they're like, I
Well,
almost
that and-
kind of understand it now, and I don't want to.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
your political science degree and a touch of psychosis.
Yeah,
Really?
that's that comes with the territory, I'm afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then you get into the whole, is it just ignorance or incompetence, or is it actually malice? And that's a very fine line, which I don't know what line they're on anymore.
I would
In a
say
way, I feel
malice
like
and
it's
a
C.
heavy dose of narcissism.
It's all of the
Well,
above, man.
Yep. Or you know what? Maybe sociopathy might be a more fitting thing, like especially in the case of the dear leader. Honestly, like you think clinically about all this stuff, and there's something fucking wrong with you.
Well, you
people.
know, if you ever look into this stuff in the scientific world, and I'm not any science major or anything like that, but I like to watch a lot of documentaries and learn as much as I can. And from the stuff I've read and the documentaries I've watched, some of the things that I've learned is that sociopathy. My English isn't working today. Is not too far away from psychopathy.
Yes.
They have a lot of things in common to the point where, in some cases, when someone is being diagnosed as a psychopath or a sociopath, they kind of fall into the same, I guess, basket.
Right.
And that kind of tells you something, especially when we're, as you said, we're talking Rooster about our dealer leader. I think there's an element of both of those things in the way he behaves, the way he scapegoats, the way he just arbitrarily and blatantly lies through his teeth. And he's just trying to keep the charade up, even though the castle's just crumbling around him, and he's still doing it.
Well, you can imagine a Venn diagram, right, with psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissism. Like they're all. I don't know that I could say that they're all interlinked, but
I
they
would
are
say
all
for him, it's a circle.
loosely related. Yeah, it's a goddamn circle for sure. Yeah, point form inside. It's checklist.
I mean, to be like, I'll give him the one. He did not have a normal upbringing too. You got to factor that in there. When your
but that
dad's the
shouldn't
prime
be
minister,
the sole reason, right? That
no,
we
it's
put everything
a
on.
factor. That's as
Yeah.
close as I'll ever get to defending him. But
Yeah.
I thought he just wanted to get reelected because he left his stash back in the house, and that's the only way to get back in there.
Oh man, like I got to go back there before anybody finds it.
I got some.
Just one more term. Just one more.
I just need to find it.
Oh man. Are you guys hopeful for what Poilievre's going to do coming in? I mean, never mind just the firearm stuff, but just in general. I mean, there's just so much wrong these days. It's almost sad. I mean, if before you answer that question, if I just tell you very quickly, I'm originally from Poland, so I'm an immigrant. I came here in '92. My parents worked their asses off to give us a future, and I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing here still. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in 2015, we had some very close family friends that we all immigrated to Canada with. We were on the same plane. We all had the same problems. We all ran away from communism in the 1980s, the late 80s in Poland. And we came to Canada for a brighter future, right? And in 2015, some of our closest friends legit packed their shit up, got on a plane, and went back to Poland. And while Poland is obviously a much better country these days than it was back in the 1980s, you got to ask yourself, like, how bad does shit have to be here? Okay, it's okay if I use naughty words. Naughty words are okay.
Go.
Have you not been paying any fucking attention at all?
Fuck yeah, bud. All right. Well, in that case,
yeah, we're 45 minutes in. The monetization.
Glad I can be myself. This is fantastic. I'm just trying to be a courteous guest, but they went back to Poland. So it begs the question, like, what the hell is going on here? That is making an entire family sell everything they own, pack up their stuff, and go to a country that they initially fled from.
Go back to the devil they know. Yeah.
Well,
Poland's like little European Texas right now.
What's that?
Poland's like a little European Texas right now.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Poland's just not giving a shit, and I can be more proud of them.
This time the speed bump will have teeth.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the habitual line crosser. That's his joke. I can do for that.
But there are.
I don't know what it is about this country. Like, yeah, for sure. Stubborn.
They learned, is what I was going to say. They learned from being stomped on, which is, I think, something Canadians need to learn too.
I've always maintained, or at least for a long time now, that one of the biggest problems we have in this country, especially for fourth and fifth and sixth generation Canadians, there's never been conflict really to speak of on this. Well, I was going to say on this continent, I guess.
In our backyard.
I shouldn't dismiss the American Civil War, but in this country, and there is no hardship really to speak of. Yes, there is some homelessness and whatnot. There's some shitty stuff everywhere, but largely speaking, this country, most people within it have never known hardship. And now, the people who did experience hardship, well, those old folks are long gone. And those old tough voices that we need now. The only people in this country anymore who've known true hardship came from.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
No, you cut out slightly.
Am I cutting out or
just slightly?
Sorry. Well, camp internet. There's for years now, we all complain about Trudeau and the Liberals and all that kind of stuff, and how bad they are and that. And it's funny. I just said it the other day again. It's Trudeau is not the root problem here. The root illness in this country is the population.
It's ignorance.
The people that voted him in, that believe in him or believe in him, and their directives. Their what the Liberal Party's doing, or maybe their ignorant bliss. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that worries me. That really worries me on an uninformed or a malicious population. That worries me a lot more than the leader.
That could be almost
or a lazy population.
Willfully being ignorant or willfully not wanting to do anything about something. Like it's almost the same thing at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am optimistic for the future though, because did you hear some of the buzz that was happening at TACOM?
Well, I mean, I was there, but what specific buzz?
I heard that the suppressor football may have got pushed a couple of yards ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that too. Although it's funny, I heard that after TACOM. It would be really nice because, if we're going to talk about suppressors, we need to talk about the UK, because we have a lot of guys from the UK in our Discord, and when they talk about all the different laws and stuff that they need, they have certificates and they have to have like itemized guns on their certificates and all this. And I was like, holy cow. And then they're like, we got suppressors. And I was like, what? you guys have suppressors? And they're like, yeah, man, it's good for your hearing. You know, it's not to bother your neighbors.
And
And
it's just sensible. Yeah.
it's just yeah. It only makes sense. And then
several
I said, okay,
European
that explains
countries.
everything as to why it's not here. But yeah. But yeah, I heard about that too, and I'd love to see them. Honestly, it would be great.
Every gun's gonna get threaded if that happens.
Oh yeah.
But you know what?
I
You know
would
what
even
can
let
see,
them
though?
restrict it to the RPAL holders. Like, if you have an RPAL, you can have a suppressor.
That's fine. I mean, I wouldn't even mind if they had like a separate little application like you got to do for an ATT right now, or something like that. I mean,
And a $50 fee. Screw it. I'll pay it.
yeah.
Let me
Well,
have
I was
the
going to say the
quiet
NFA stuff right
Okay.
in the US.
Right. Absolutely.
Rooster shaking his finger.
Listen, we're in Canada. They fucking regulate my shoelaces. They would if they could. You think for a second, suppressors and that so many people want and so many people would use, they wouldn't find a way to capitalize on that. I don't give a
course they
shit
would.
who's in government. Absolutely.
Now,
they would.
we'd
course they
wipe
would.
out Canada's debt.
Oh yeah,
You
you
put
could take
$100
out like,
tax on suppressors, Canada's debt is gone.
like our
Yeah,
national
well-
debt would be gone in a matter of 9 months.
As soon as you can show me the receipts for where all that tax money goes, you might have my endorsement. Until then,
Yeah,
I-
I'd second that actually.
I can actually confirm for a fact that all of the income tax collected in 2023 went entirely to interest payment on debt.
I wouldn't be surprised.
okay, that is the only.
And that is from the Canadian
fact.
Taxpayers
Yes.
Federation.
That's
Yeah,
wild,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
The fact that we're not
Not
even
something.
touching the principle at this point, it's just that's critically a horrible thing. I mean,
See,
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, you want US style gun laws? No, I want like cool European style gun laws, because most people who don't care about firearms, you could just say, we're bringing in European style firearms, but you don't have to say which European country that you're bringing in.
Right.
all I'm going to say is if anybody says style, and this is not just with firearms, but like anything, like let me just paint the picture, right? Like if you're going to a Chinese style restaurant, you're not going to a Chinese restaurant, people. Okay. It is Americanized Chinese food that if you were to eat in front of a real Chinese person, which I know because I'm married to one, okay, they will laugh at you
Right.
for weeks because you're dumb for going to a restaurant like that and thinking it's Chinese because they say it's Chinese style. If you go to a shiatsu style massage parlor, I'm sorry, man, you're going to a rub and tug.
Right.
Like, you just got to be honest with yourself. There's no the shiatsu is just there to make it look nice, but if they're going to say shiatsu style, and this applies to everything, the reason why they're putting style on it as far as firearms go is because they have no better way to define it. They can't define it. They want to use it as rhetoric and they want to use it to legislate. But if you look in the Canadian Criminal Code, not once is assault style firearms mentioned. If you look in the Firearms Act, not once is assault style. It's all restricted, non-restricted, prohibited, stuff that's repeated everywhere in our legislation, which is actionable. Everybody knows what it means, and you can legislate based on that because it's a ubiquitous term, right?
Right.
So yeah, sorry about the little tirade there, but
and
it just
yet
drives me nuts
the
when people
zombies
say that.
buy it.
My thought is if it works on them, we can use it against them.
Absolutely.
Which is
But
like,
the thing
okay,
is, like, we'd be stooping to their level though if we did that.
it's not really stooping. It's like, okay, let's bring in the
That's
France
what I have
suppressor
trouble
laws,
with.
which basically say they're mandatory. Czech Republic's got some pretty groovy carry laws. I believe Estonia, you can own anything if the local sheriff signs off on it.
Wow.
I think Estonia, the parliament is just generally speaking shaking in
Because
the boots.
that's where
because
I think that's where
they know it
Poland's
could
from.
kick off any second.
Is it Estonia Polanar's from?
What's that?
Polanar Tactical, isn't that? It's like Central Europe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't actually even heard of that.
Oh, they're a great channel.
Mm. I'll have
That's
to
the
check
thing.
them out.
With like the firearms YouTube thing, it's hard to know that people are even a thing just because how bad we get algorithm dumped.
Yeah, so that's something I could spend talking about for about 3 weeks.
Oh, we were watching it live at TACOM. Like we put that first video out. We had the Sterling video out. I think the same on the Friday night, and we had the
you guys
R9
have it out
video.
before us?
We had it like the day of. We're like, oh, we should send this to JR. Maybe he's already sharing it with other people. Like, oh, I guess it's okay then. But we had the R9 video in like, okay, we'll release it in the morning. So we went and uploaded it and like, yep,
Oh,
demonetized.
right. Yeah.
A bunch of our stuff got demonetized, like right out the gate.
Yeah, it's difficult. So I don't know if have you guys heard of the new firearm policies brought in by YouTube? I think it was in July. You guys heard about this?
Yeah, they're trash.
Have you actually read them though? Like they're terrible.
They're terrible and retroactive.
Yeah, and ever since that happened, a bunch of my videos started getting demonetized. I mean, Hickok 45 even came on, and I know he's an American, but he came on and he's like, literally, a bunch of my videos just got deleted, like not even demonetized. His stuff just got deleted.
Right.
And he made a video talking about this. And the moment he did that, I was like, oh yeah, there's some changes here. And it would happen to me where they demonetized. Thankfully, they didn't delete, but they demonetized a bunch of my videos. And I go in and they're talking about you're selling firearms accessories, not firearms accessories, sorry, firearms parts. Those are two different things, by the way, folks. You're selling incendiary ammo. You're showing an automatic firearm. And I'm like, hold on, is this 1976? Like, did we just get on a time machine and travel like 50 years back? Because I could have sworn automatics were banned in 77. I don't even know where to find incendiary ammo. And as for gun parts, if you want to call a little red dot optic that a kid could walk into a gun store and buy or just get off of Amazon, a gun part, then I guess I'm guilty. But like, holy crap, it's terrible. And there was like numerous videos, and I brought this to their attention, and they were like, yeah, that's all accurate. And I'm like, well, no, this says that there was a gun in the first 10 minutes of my video, and one didn't even show up until 12 minutes in. I think this was the Siley optics video that I did. And then they're like, oh, okay. And then they changed everything. So they changed they changed the time, because, when you go into YouTube, it tells you, like, there's a timeline where it tells you where the problem of your video is. They changed that. So now they moved it to the front of the video, or they moved it to the 10-minute mark or whatever. And then they changed all the wording. So they got rid of the incendiary ammo and the automatic stuff, and then just put other stuff from their new policy, which also wasn't accurate. And I think they only let go one of the videos once I made it public on Twitter. Like, once I called them out on Twitter and I was like, guys, seriously, this is bullshit. This is wrong. Here's my proof. And they're like, oh yeah. And then, so they monetized one of my videos, and then the other ones, they didn't even bother. So this is a serious problem. Sorry for going off on a little tangent there, but it's like, it's not.
It's a legitimate problem. And like, I would love to make money doing stuff like this, like if it was possible, but it's not. You can't do it really, unless you're catering seriously to American audiences.
Yeah. I mean, and even they're getting hit so hard by all the censorship and the way that the algorithm works. I mean, it's literally not recommending videos because they have firearms in them, despite the fact that all of the YouTube guidelines are being followed. I mean, if you guys ever watched, and I'm sure you've seen a couple of my videos at least, you see that I have a disclaimer at the beginning. That's not for the viewers. That's for YouTube. That's for the reviewers who are reviewing the videos that are demonetized, to tell them, hey, we're doing this shit safely. We got this. Don't worry about it. As opposed to then having to go back in retrospect and try to argue with them, because you can't win. So
go ahead and spray your TikTok videos out all over the place, though. That's good.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So dancing with your ass hanging out is fine, but showing someone how to safely operate something that's kind of dangerous, no, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
Or
God
like
forbid you teach anybody anything. My Lord, what's the matter with you?
Why do we continue with these attempts at logic? We know we're not getting anywhere.
Eventually, the universe will write itself.
Yeah. So will the budget.
You can only get away with so much, like.
Yeah. Unfortunately, but this is why we count on the various audiences that watch your channel, my channel, other gun channels, to not to sway anybody to try to take our opinion, but just to understand that every chance that we take to try to teach somebody something, to show them something worthwhile, it's an uphill battle. Whether we're fighting YouTube, whether we're fighting the government, we're constantly going uphill, and it's actually tiring. But we do it because we love it. And let me know if you disagree with that, but I don't think you do.
No, that's Precisely right. I mean, what the hell else would we do with all our free time?
I know, right?
Well, it's like we're sharing knowledge to the communities, and some of it is actually useful to the community at one point or another. But we're also building the Canadian community as a whole.
Mm-hmm. You know, you think about it, like if we just kind of give up and, man, this is a lot of work and it's an uphill battle and whatever, it's taking my Friday night away from my cheesies and movie or whatever. Here it comes to personal responsibility within the group, right? If we drop out, we think it's too much work. We lose a bit of an audience. Maybe some of those people will go, you know what? If those guys aren't making an effort, why should I?
Yeah.
Somebody else with another channel goes, Jesus, you know, they might be right. It's a lot of work, and I'm missing stuff out of my life, and all of a sudden it's gone. So it's, I mean, this is all part of the bloody plan too. You look at the shooting edge, right? That is part of the goddamn plan. It's part of the plan. And
that was heartbreaking, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
To watch him close that place down after 25 years, man.
Yeah.
JR is in the chat right now, though.
Is he really?
Yeah, JR.
Wow, JR. I don't know if you got my email there, buddy, but no. I'm
sure he's got a few emails right now.
I'm sure he got a couple. But no, my heart broke when that happened because, you know, I haven't known him for long. I mean, we talked about him before. When I met him at TACCOM, I was just like I said, I felt like I've met my match because he was just firing on all cylinders. Like, oh, we got this gun, we got the R9, we got this, and we got the R18, and then this happens. Oh, we built this, and nobody else has this, and it's so cool. And I was sitting there like watching my own videos, almost like of me talking because I never shut up, as you can plainly see. And it's just ignited another spark in me just to keep going. You know, I know we're talking about it. This is a lot of work. This is, you know, it's constantly an uphill battle, but you meet people like that sometimes. And I'm not trying to butter you up for any, you know, potentially obvious reason there, JR. But I mean, you're genuinely a great human being. And to see you so passionate about what you do, it makes me want to be more passionate about what I do. And I'm sure it has a knock-on effect with other people in the industry as well. We need that. We need to prop each other up. We need to help each other out. Everybody's going to get burnt out and tired. I mean, because we're just basically beating a dead horse with this government. But that's no reason to quit. And, you know, it's human to want to, you know, feel a little depressed, a little sad. Maybe my views aren't as high as I want them to be. Or, you know, I'm just, I'm not making any headway here. But then, you know, I meet guys like you guys, like Mike and Rooster, and it just gives you a renewed purpose. You know, you meet guys like JR. It gives you a renewed purpose. It makes you remember what you're fighting for and who you're fighting for.
And this is such a great community too. Like once you get into like the really core, like because the actual community is pretty small, like that's all interconnected. Once you get like it kind of in that core community, you realize how great of a community it actually is.
Yeah, you think about it, you guys. Like of the people we know, of the different communities that we know and or associated with. Maybe it's a little bit different for you guys. My ADHD mind spins 1,000 fucking miles an hour, and of all the thoughts you have through a day, you know, a thought that leads to another thought, or something that you're doing leads to a thought or a person or something like that. Think of all the good people that we know, or have run across, or have touched, or have touched us, not in that way, you know, through all of this. Generally speaking, our worlds are kind of small. We get into this sort of business, and it expands rapidly. And I don't know that there's too many people that I would go, that guy's a piece of shit, I don't want anything to do with him. There's not many of them.
Sometimes happens to me when I can't stop talking, but that's besides the point.
You know, Tom, this may for the 100th episode, 100th BS session for the Ballistically Speaking podcast, that may very well have
that's
been
what that stands for.
The sweetest moment, the sweetest bromance moment on our 100th session. Thank you, Tom.
No, thank you guys. I feel incredibly privileged. Honestly, I didn't really even know that this was going to be the 100th until I kind of started my preparations and everything, and then I was just like, wow, I can't believe I wasn't just kind of put off to the side like, this guy's not really that big of a deal. Let's just put him on like 102, 103. We got to have somebody serious for 100. So I really appreciate it. And if I can just very quickly address, I mean, JR said thank you, and then I love you, man. You're a great guy. And somebody said, who is JR? JR is a great guy. He owned the Shooting Edge in Calgary. And I hope you guys don't mind me giving him a little shout out here because he definitely deserves it. He owns Sterling Arms. He owns
Target Sports.
what else was there? The Target Sports Canada shooting range just a little north of Toronto. Nice place. Been there a few times with a friend of mine. Yeah, and he's a very hardworking and passionate dude. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry for taking up so much time.
Oh, no problem.
Jeez. Stop being sorry.
I know, but I'm a Canadian. I'm trying to be a good Canadian, okay? And part of that, I'm not sure if you guys know, if we have any non-Canadians watching, we have had a law for a very long time where, you have to apologize before you do something questionable or objectionable. It's just, you have to do it. And, being a gun owner, somebody who follows rules and laws basically in their sleep, I feel obliged to do that. So once again, believe it or not, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I can tell you for the Americans that I know are here right now, they already know.
Yeah.
They already shake their heads at us. You guys
those polite Canadians, eh? Oh, I tell you what, bud.
Oh, you tell you them and their Norinco firearms. They're always on about those Type 81s.
Oh, buddy. Maybe after we're done shooting there, buddy, we can go over to the St. Hortons there, eh, buddy? Get yourself a hot cup of coffee there, bud. Oh, yeah.
Just go out for a rip.
Oh, yeah.
I did go out for a rip.
I love that song, man. That was my ringtone for a while. When
I had that song memorized at one point.
Go out for a rip, don't you, bud? Oh, man. I'll need a few more drinks before I start singing, so let's just hold off. Just hold off until then.
So I'm just looking at the show notes there, Mike. You had 3D printing stuff. What's that all about?
Tom, you dabble in the 3D printing space. Why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
Oh man, you guys sure you want to hear about this? Because I mean, we're going to be here for probably the next 5 or 6 hours minimum. It's going to be a long show.
We don't have to go.
I'm just going to give you a fair warning.
Just go with the Cliff Notes version. We don't need to know how much spaghetti you've made in your life.
That's pretty much all I make. But yeah, 3D printing is great, man. So a buddy of mine once let me borrow his 3D printer, and it's not something I was really ever genuinely interested in, just because I'm kind of lazy sometimes, and I just feel like, wait, that's way too much work. I have no business doing that much work, and I just really don't even want to try. And he goes, well, why don't you just try it? I have one of these laying around in my basement. Actually, Max, my camera guy. So give him a little shout out here as well. Shout outs for everybody today. And he goes, yeah, just I have this sitting around. It's doing nothing. Why don't you borrow it and, screw around with it for a bit and see how it goes. And I go, okay. So I just start, I don't know if you guys ever do this, but like you take on something new and then you just compulsively start watching YouTube videos. You go to the University of YouTube and you think you know everything after 3 nights. That was me. And I was given a very rude awakening because there's a lot to learn. But in any case, I loved it so much. And I was like, okay, I've got this channel going on. How could I integrate this into what I'm doing? And, then I kind of thought about, well, I got big hands and maybe I can print myself a grip because everything that I get from like the stock Magpul stuff, not that Magpul is bad. They have a lot of great stuff, but just, my hands are big, right? And they just, the little MOE Magpul thing always felt like a toy to me. So I go, I got to be able to make something. So I started talking to people. One of our guys in Discord, who's actually one of our partners, is just CAD genius, right? And we came up with a little thing. I was going to promote some of his stuff. He was going to, make a grip for me. And then I started, playing around with the settings. Eventually, I went balls deep, for lack of better words. I bought a Bamboo Lab printer. Those things are like, God knows, I don't even know how much, 14, 15, 1600 bucks or something like that.
Around there, yeah.
Supposedly some of the best consumer printers you can get on the market. So I just went straight in off the deep end and I started making stuff. And then I was like, okay, I got to have a place to maybe, distribute this stuff. I gave some to my friends. I started printing stuff for my friends and then they loved it. I was like, okay, that's it. So I created a website and now we have a couple of products on there that we 3D print and we sent out and They're made of, we use mostly PETG. That's polyethylene terephthalate glycol. It's a mouthful with carbon fiber. And then we also do like a PA12, a high temperature automotive grade carbon fiber nylon as well. And they're both fantastic. So
go ahead and put that website in the chat there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe you guys are faster than me, but it's CanadianOperator.ca. So we have a number of products that we design and make ourselves. And then we have some stuff that we do license with some of our partners on Discord. And we've got stuff coming up. So we've got a PRS grip coming up for those guys who want more of a vertical grip with a lot of the same grip weave tech that we have in our original grip. And then we have a bunch of other stuff coming that I can't quite talk about yet, but it's very exciting, and it was just like a whole new thing.
But it's the 100th session today.
You can do a small week.
Good morning. It was like a whole new thing. My wife wasn't crazy about it because the way that she likes it now, but when I started to get the printer and set everything up and buying all the filaments, she was like, "Oh, great, another expensive hobby." So that took some explaining, but ever since I started printing stuff like boxes and stuff around the house for her to get organized, she was like, "Okay, that's not so bad. It's like, this is fine. It's just don't spend too much money on it. It'll be fine." So that's how I got her to approve everything. I just started making her stuff, and then she was like, "Okay, this is fine." So yeah, but yeah, the 3D printing is awesome. There's so many applications for various different things. Whether you're just doing stuff on your own at home. Or whether you want to take a commercial and start, making products that people are going to buy and use. There's a lot to learn, but and I don't know if you guys want to touch on this, either Rooster or Mike, if you guys have any experience with it. But the Bamboo Lab stuff, I'm really glad I went to that. It was a lot more money up front, no lie, but it makes it so much easier for a pleb like myself to get into it because the 3D printing of like 10 years ago, you basically had to have like a mathematics master degree in mathematics and like it was too much. And that's predominantly why I didn't have any interest in it initially. But yeah.
No, I'm on team FL Sun.
FL Sun's cool.
Delta's all the way.
no
they
judgment.
Look cool, auto bed level. That's usually I had an Ender 3, got rid of it. Went to the FL Sun, never went back. And my
those guys actually made printers. I thought they just made filament.
Creality? Like the Ender 3.
FL Sun.
No, FL Sun, they have there's some of the fastest deltas out there right now.
The Delta. You're talking about the big,
the
huge...
the triangle thing that moves around like this.
So you got one of those?
Yeah, that's the way to go, in my opinion. I'm biased.
Show off.
Well, I had an Ender 3 that was maxed out like a top fuel dragster with every aftermarket thing you could put on it.
Oh, I was way too far flexible. Out in the nerd weeds for me.
Everyone has their little nerd section. It's like
keep it going, Mike. I'm seeing Rooster getting progressively more uncomfortable there as we keep going here.
Well, Rooster's a machinist by trade, so he's like, I know how to make stuff out of metal. I don't need to make it out of plastic.
Screw you and your additive manufacturing wussies.
That's right.
They're getting to the point where you can almost combine the two. I think there's SLSs right now that are in the $50,000 range.
Pretty wild, eh?
Considering they
aren't those ones that are using some kind of sand or something like that? I heard about this.
It's sintering. Yeah. So basically, it puts a layer of sand material down, and it lasers the product out. And it puts another layer down, and lasered it. That's a lot of the 3D printed suppressors. That's how they're getting made.
No, that's awesome.
Where's that fella in the States? I can't remember the name of his company, but we've talked to him at SHOT Show every time we've been there. We had him on the show. I can't remember whether it was early ballistically speaking or late FFP. You think you can talk, Tom? That guy just goes Yokohama.
But, that was MKM, wasn't it?
The MKM, yeah.
Or anyway, I did a thing.
You bet.
I did a thing.
Well, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, well, I figure you guys were so nice to have me on here, and I want to treat your audience to something nice. So
let's throw it up there.
So BSP10, you guys use that code. It's good this whole weekend. It'll get you 10% off your entire order at CanadianOperator.ca, nice. And anything over $100 free shipping.
Cool. Thank you very
Excellent.
much.
Thanks,
Man,
Tom.
thank you guys. I really, I kind of almost feel bad, and I almost want to apologize again for just so
Damn it,
shameless.
Canadian. Knock it off.
I'm so sorry. Please visit the website. Oh God. Oh,
You're gonna make me
God
start.
forbid anybody
thinking
actually buys
liberal.
anything. I'll feel so guilty.
No, plug away, man. That's all part of the shtick.
You guys are awesome, man. Well, I mean, I plugged you something fierce in the Discord, so I'm sure we had a couple extra faces in here. Let's go. That's awesome. You guys are great, man. I haven't been in front of a camera like this, like in this capacity for a long time. So it just feels super welcome, and all the warms and fuzzies here. So I appreciate all you guys making that relatively easy on me.
No problem, man. It was good to have you. It's I'm a little bit. Well, I never had the time. It seems like to research guests and that. I was aware of who you were, but I don't watch a heck of a lot of YouTube. I'm too mad at it all the time.
Okay, man. It's just some guy from Ontario making videos. This is not a big deal.
Guy. Yeah.
See where me, on the other hand, it's like SHOT Show from like March till June. I'm watching every single YouTube video that comes out on every single thing that comes out.
So
when do you work?
SHOT Show though? Isn't that more of like an industry thing as opposed to?
It is.
I feel like TACCOM's it's got a lot more public involvement than.
Well, Rooster's the only one that's been there, so.
Okay, Rooster, you wanna?
Well, on screen right now, anyways. Yeah, it is very industry driven, and you have to, as far as I'm aware, anyways, you have to. Is it right that you have to be invited there, or was it simply because we went there as media that we had to have had an invite from somebody that was already there?
I thought the invite was for the range day that you guys went.
That's a for sure. I'm sure it's got to be open to the public. Yeah.
Tom, just toss
so.
your name in, apply, and see if they let you in.
But there's no sale of anything, and in fact, it's against the law. I guess I don't know what it's like at TACOM. I've never been there. Are there any sales permitted or deals made? Like for the industry guys, there's actually a whole floor down at SHOT Show with meeting rooms and that for people that are there with displays, dealers and manufacturers and all the rest that can go and meet with prospective buyers and retailers and that to hack out some deals. So that's really what that's all about. And I suppose the public show is TACCOM much the same way, I would think.
TACCOM's a lot more retail, at least. I mean, I've only been to one, but it just feels to me like there's a lot more. You can just buy stuff right on the spot. You find a booth, you find something you like. I mean, I think even firearms, you can actually do the transaction there. How you actually walk out with the firearm, I'm sure that there's a process to that.
Right.
I remember buying a crossbow at TACCOM. We got one of those little, what is it, the AR-6 Stinger 2 from Steamboat. I think Firearms Outlet had a pretty good deal on that, so we picked one up. Yeah. And they walked us over to like the side of the convention center, and they're like, "This is all of our stock." They made like a little warehouse there. We showed Buddy our receipt, and just gave us the box, and we were just checked by security on the way out. But other than that, there was really nothing else. So I don't know if firearms work the same way, but they had accessories, optics, all sorts of stuff out there, and then works much the same way.
So it is much more
in Ontario tradition. I will add though, you could buy ammo in the parking lot.
Oh hell yeah!
Love that.
In the
5-ton cube van.
You're telling me this now. We were at TACCOM together, Mike. We were there together. Tells me this in October. My goodness.
The truck was right by the door. It said ammo truck on it.
Like honestly, Tom, you should never trust a guy who has a mustache like that.
Yeah,
it's pretty simple.
The thing is, like, I know better than to get into arguments about mustaches. I'm not going to elaborate on it because it's going to be another 2 hours, and I really don't want to put the public through this. But I'm just going to go ahead and stay out of this because I know better, and I'll tell you next time why.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh yeah. We would definitely have you back on the show.
I'd love to be back, man. This is a blast.
Solidified yourself as a callback.
Have I made a good enough cameo to be recurring material on the show?
You betcha.
Oh, you guys are awesome, man. Well,
I'm not going to tell you where the bar is, though.
Well, well, see, I think initially you had me thinking I maybe failed the bar because of that absolute amateur mistake with that audio loop. That felt terrible.
Oh,
For
that
those of you, by
definitely
the
was
way,
a
who
strike
didn't see that,
against you.
don't go back and rewatch it. There's just nothing happened. There's just a little thing.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just live in the here and now. This is
Our
where all the
one-armed
action is
bandit,
anyway.
the 1AB, our one-armed bandit friend, he says the CCFR has a new app. There are sponsors on there that give member discounts as well. So yes, Rod.
Yes, that is true.
Rod and Tracy announced that app just, what was it? Is it 2 weeks ago yet?
Almost, yeah.
I
saw that on
haven't got
Twitter
to
when they
fully
announced
play
that.
with it yet. I haven't downloaded it.
Yeah.
I haven't played with it.
I snooped around on there a little bit. There's some sponsoring dealers and stuff like that that you can go to their website directly through that. You can manage your membership right on the app and all that kind of stuff.
I like that, actually. I like that. My wallet's just
100%.
filled with so much crap these days that having a digital card is actually kind of nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's hard
I
for
got
me
the
to
George
sit down.
Costanza wallet.
Oh, man. I had to get me one of those.
Every
one
card you were ever handed.
literally.
Yeah, right. It's just it's
What
not
I
a
would
wallet anymore. It's a portfolio. You're just like you need
Yeah,
two hands
right.
to operate it. It opens up like it doesn't even close all the way.
What I would like to see in that app is, and if anyone who has pull there is listening, like a Canadian media section where like here's the Canadian podcast directory, here's the Canadian YouTube directory.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
because trying to find other content creators is kind of hard sometimes from a Canadian perspective. Like,
yeah. I'm a little bit surprised every once in a while when a new one pops up, or one I hadn't seen before. And turns
we
out
can't depend on YouTube to spread awareness about us, right? So we kind of have to do it ourselves. But yeah.
But even as a podcast, like off the top of my head, there's us, Slamfire, Silvercore, Modern
You mean
Canadian,
Slimefire?
Slamfire. I've been there before. They know me.
I wasn't the first one. In my defense, if they're watching, that was not the first one to say that. I'm just going along with the show, man. So I'm just
background for that joke. I have a cold and I'm very much struggling to talk right now. And I had half a gulp of tea in my mouth. And it sounded like Slimefire. It's not Slimefire, obviously. And then Jen.
Hey, you liar. There's more than tea in that tea.
There's tea and there's another substance.
Yes.
Man,
but like for podcasts, and then Jen, Horrible People. This is another podcast, and that's not counting.
I gotta catch more of them. Yeah.
Like how many YouTubers out there? Like Alex, there's Adria with hunting. There's Tom. There's all these. Hosier gun guy. Like there's so many of them, but unless you know of them, you don't. YouTube doesn't recommend them half the time.
I'm gonna. If you guys don't mind, I'm just since we're on this train wreck of shouting out people, I'd love to give the guy with beard, guns, and gear. I don't know if you guys seen him.
Right.
He's not super active. He's not, he's not on like an everyday or like a weekly upload schedule. And to be fair, neither am I. But I think some of his stuff is worth watching as well. He does some review stuff, but like recently he came out with something that talks about how to hunt in Canada. Like, I mean, anytime I see anything that is progressive in the way of like, teaching people about, say, firearm ownership and what you can do with a firearm and how to do it, I just gravitate to wanting to promote that because I think it's valuable information that a lot of people could use. So, I mean, there you go.
Like we basically have to self-promote, and then the other half is part of the Canadian gun community communicates by telegraph, so that does not help the flow of information.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep using that phrase until it becomes common because I still think it's accurate.
I'd say it's pretty accurate. Although I probably should also learn Morse code just in case. I mean, you never know.
There's apps for that. Fun fact: if you thought Canadian FUDs were bad, try the ham radio FUDs. That's like a whole other world. It's like FUDs with engineering degrees.
Oh my God.
That would be too much for me. I would
I think it's already too much for me.
Like you key up without a license and they're going to like direction find you and report you to Industry Canada. That's how that community rolls.
That is super fun.
Because I wanted to get into ham and I'm like, it's a lot of guys talking about smoke alarms because it's free to listen. You just can't push the button and talk to anybody.
Interesting.
according to the law.
Kind of cool though. I mean, like there's
Is that
so
the
many different
C68
things.
of the airwaves?
It's pretty much. Go buy a Balfour.
Sorry,
They're like
Tom. You're
$40
No,
on Amazon.
just, by all means. Don't worry, I had nothing good to say anyway. I'm just.
But like the community is advanced, like the gun community, like guys are getting into like radios now, and like training is becoming a thing in Canada. Where like I want to go, I have this gun. Other than figuring it on your own, you can actually go take classes now. That's becoming popular. That's
cool,
good
man.
thing.
Yeah.
Night
see a lot of
vision
that
is
popping up.
becoming popular. It's expensive as balls, but how many guys think it's illegal? Everybody.
Doesn't one of your sponsors do that?
No.
You guys talked about somebody at the beginning that did training. It's not.
Oh,
you're
training.
talking call sign
Yeah,
6.
call sign.
Yeah.
Precision
Yeah.
rifle training. Yeah, for sure. I was stuck on radios.
Don't you guys have a sponsor that teaches people how to use ham radios? No, why
No.
not?
No.
My God,
We would
get
accept
it
one.
together, guys.
I don't know. Would we? Just the way you were talking about ham radio.
No, we wouldn't.
I don't think.
Well, I mean, I don't know though. You know, with the
it's
world
more
going
of
the
a
way
prep-
it is, with the apocalypse and the zombie apocalypse pretty much incoming,
See, it's like
There
the
might
Venn
be
diagram.
some benefit
got-
to learning how to use the radio and talking off the grid. You know,
I legitimately
No.
think people should get it, but like there's like the gun community, there's like the prepper community, and there's like those guys in the middle.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone should get it. I think everyone should get Stop the Bleed. Like it should be a mandatory thing almost, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like if you have now learned how to put holes in things, you need to learn how to plug holes in things.
Yeah.
Should you need to.
And so I might interject you for just a second, because there are actually courses out there that can teach you that in a pretty reasonable amount of time and with a very reasonable amount of detail. And I'm not even talking about like the standard CPR A, B, or C courses that you can do. There's something called, at least in Canada, and I'm pretty sure it's still done by the Red Cross. That's where I got mine done when I worked as a transport medic years ago. And it's either emergency first responder or what was the other one? My goodness, emergency first responder. So there's EMR. That was the sort of more high end one. There's another one though. Basically, first responder courses. There's different levels. Right, but they teach you so much more than just how to handle a wound or a chest cavity problem, or like you go through you go to airway management, you go to childbirth, and everything in between. It's really cool. It's not for everybody. It's like it was a $700 course at the time, which was like probably 12, 13 years ago now. It was a while ago, but they teach you a lot. And like, being armed with that and being certified in that, even when I wasn't working, was awesome, because there was like 3 or 4 times where somebody was involved in a motor vehicle accident, or somebody had some kind of trauma or some kind of problem, and before the ambulance could get there, I was able to use those skills to help that person out, at least kind of stabilize them or do something for them while the ambulance or the fire truck or whatever was on the way. I definitely think that's I mean, seriously, a worthwhile thing to do if you're someone who, like Mike said, you've learned how to put holes into stuff. It's not a bad idea to learn how to patch people up. It'll come in handy at some point in your life for sure.
Yep, for sure. And I've been exposed to some situations where it's amazing what the brain does to people, and they don't know what to do, so they're just gone. Whether physically gone or mentally, like nobody's home. It's just amazing. And
so to that point, I was on my way home. If we have time for like a 3-minute thing, little segue. I was on my way home from my work on my motorbike one day, and as I was getting like really close to my place, there was a big plaza with a massive parking lot. This 70-year-old something little old lady got hit by a ram, like a truck. The guy took off, and she was bleeding from her head, and she had lacerations and contusions all over her body. I ended up stopping, and there was literally a group of people, and I would say no less than 60, 70 people.
And nobody
They're all standing there.
Thing, I bet.
They're all looking at her,
me.
and not a single one has called 911 or approached her and asked her if she's okay. So I run up, and I'm like, you call 911, you go and direct traffic,
right?
And the rest of you get the hell out of here because you're blocking the way. And within a few minutes, there was some firefighters that were on the way, I guess, off of a break. They stopped and helped out. The ambulance arrived last. But the funny thing was that me and I think 2 firefighters stabilized this lady. We got her into a C-spine collar. We got her onto a backboard. And by the time we had finished everything, the ambulance came out and just brought their stretcher out. We literally put her on the stretcher into the ambulance while the paramedics were standing around, hands crossed. And
good work, fellas.
Then they just drove off, and they were like, "Yeah, thanks." And in a way, I was like, "What the hell is going on here? Like, these guys should take over." But in another way, it was like, "Well, I guess I must have done a good enough job for them not to intervene." But it's like times like that, and you're absolutely right, Rooster. Like, people will stand around, and they'll just be completely mind fucked. Like, they'll have no idea what to do. And some of them will know what to do, but they'll try not to get involved because there's like,
I want to fucking throat punch every one of them. Just,
yeah. And I mean, for anybody that's wondering, like, will I get in trouble? There's actually a federal law, and don't ask me to quote it because it's been a long time, but there is actually a Good Samaritan law,
right?
That's colloquially known as that will protect you if you have the right training and you're acting within the scope of your training to help another person in need. You cannot get sued. You have zero liability. It's basically diplomatic immunity. I would look it up just in case, but at the time, we had the Good Samaritan law, and if you were trained to provide CPR and you provided CPR to the person on the ground and they died, then you were safe because you acted within your scope, right? And you acted within your training. And I'm sure that's still around.
Specifically for that reason,
for that reason, Obviously, don't do anything you're not supposed to.
Yeah, don't be giving people tracheotomies. But the other thing, in Quebec, it's actually mandatory. If you have the training, you have to help them. You don't get to be a conscientious objector.
That's in Quebec. In Ontario, we don't have that.
No, but just for...
I don't know if you said that, but...
Yeah, just for Quebec, for the 2 listeners we may have.
You guys read that story about somewhere down in the States? There's some young lady suing a 40-something-year-old man. She dove into the shallow end of a pool, cranked her head on the bottom. He saw it and dove in or jumped in, whatever, pulled her out, revived her, and then she's essentially not... He had no right to put his hands on my body, and it's assault and all this kind of stuff. You ungrateful little twat.
So the judge goes, okay, go back.
You stay in the bottom of the pool.
So what's the judge going to do? Sentence her to get drowned?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's... I read the story a little while ago. I don't know if it's concluded or not.
Awful.
But that's terrible.
Well,
people are... You know what's also terrible? Winnipeg is banning machetes.
Oh, God, no.
Did you hear about this?
How else am I going to put on my toast?
There's... Manitoba is trying to bring in a law that would officially ban machetes. And I'm not going to lie, I thought BC or Ontario was going to do it first.
You mean assault-style machetes?
Did you have money on it?
Any knife over 30 centimeters, like a registry. So if you want to go buy a sword, which for most people just sits in the background,
or on a shelf or something,
unless you're one of the medieval people. But they want to have a registry. We are at that point where knives are about to get registered.
Sword registry, everybody, get ready for the sword registry.
Every blacksmith's going to have to have a ledger.
Machetes are
essential with his typical zinger. Dude, machetes are essential workers. I agree 100%.
Second that, man. Like I said, buttering toast is an incredibly important part of my life, and I can't be responsible with a butter knife.
1AB, we agree with you fully. We're not going to go any further with that one.
We understand your frustration.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, that all leads back to the lack of common sense in our lawmaking, man. And actually, speaking of this, so I want to put a question to you guys, and I also want to put a question to the audience. Just an idea that I had, but I think that anybody who wants to become a legislator, where they're going to be writing laws that affect firearms in any capacity whatsoever, should be required by law to have a PAL, at least a basic PAL, for at least a year before they could make any kind of laws or suggestions or second the law that's going to affect firearm owners, because I think it's important for them to understand what it is that they're doing and the breadth and the depth of how that might affect people unintentionally to what they may think might actually be the case.
Right. Have you not been paying attention to the many hundreds of experts that the government calls upon for various inquiries and things like that? Experts. We have an expert for this, an expert for that. According to what criteria? Well, they're just an expert in that field. Are they now? You fuck. This is Canada. I mean, if you feel like you're an expert, I guess, and if you have somebody vouch for you that has some sort of authority, I guess that makes you a goddamn expert. But you know what? There are several countries, when I, like New Zealand for one, UK for another. When I went down there to play ball many years ago, I was machining at that time, and so I had a real good connection with one of my teammates down there who worked in a molding shop, and he was a lather. He's a journeyman lather, is what he said. So tradesmen break up their trades. Like here, we go 4 years for carpentry or whatever, and you cover the whole thing. There, they break it up into various sub-disciplines or whatever. Engineers, it is mandatory, if you want to be an engineer in some of these countries, you have to have a trade first. So if you want to be a mechanical engineer, you got to go work doing structural steel or building vessels or tanks or bridges or something.
Right.
You know, electrical
Volvo
engineer.
Construction does that.
Is that right?
Volvo Construction does that, or they were for a while.
That makes one hell of a pile of sense to me. And yes, Tom, I am with you 100%. If you're gonna impose laws on an entire country, you sure as fuck better know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
or at least
again,
want to get
I'm
educated
afraid
about
this
it.
is Canada. Well,
I mean, even if you're not going to go through the point of like knowing what you're talking about, I think you should at least understand the implications of your actions at a bare minimum.
But that's where the ball of yarn starts to unravel. Is, well, maybe they don't have to really know what they're doing, but they gotta want. Well, no compromise.
What?
Like, put it this way: if you made me Minister of Fisheries, the first thing I'm doing is grabbing a 2-4, taking it down to the dock, and say, "Okay, boys, show me what we're doing."
For a rip?
Yeah. Well, you know, there, boys, we're going to go out there for a rip.
Take it out for a rip immediately.
Just bring down a flat of beer, stand on the docks like, I'm the new fish guy. Show me what we're doing here. I'm from the prairies. Pretend I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Thanks, Uke. Mike, reading the comments, wondering why no one has yet mentioned how magnificent his mustache is. That is not 100% correct. I did mention.
We did actually mention it earlier.
We did. I stayed out of it, and I will continue to stay out of it because I know better. Just saying. I do not
I also
want
got
you
some
guys
big
go ahead.
sideburns going too. So.
Oh my god.
And just for the record, that has nothing to do with the fact that I couldn't grow one to save my life and that I am extremely jealous. Nothing to do with that whatsoever.
All right, thanks
for
that share there, Peaches.
By the way, I'm not a queer for wanting to hang out with us. I know I think it was you that said that. It was, don't want to sound like a queer, but I like hanging out with you, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me here.
Where else can we talk about gun nerd stuff?
That too, on occasion.
Because I can't do it in public. People start looking at me weird. They're like, "What do you mean you shoot your 22 that far? You can't do that."
I was on a go bus a few months ago, and some older lady looks at my gun case, which is an obvious gun case, right, that I've got with me. And she goes, "What's in there?" And I go, "Foam."
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
Not wrong.
Guy leans over right next to me and he goes, "So what kind of rifle is that?" And I'm like, now we're talking my language.
Right.
And that's how you know who you can and can't talk to about certain things.
Right.
Even being on site, you can just see some of the hard hat stickers. I'm like, I need to go talk to that person about guns because they all.
100%.
And it's not just like the Browning sticker. There's like the niche gun stickers that, like, if you have that, they know what they're talking about.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah.
though to be honest, I've had some really nice, like wonderful conversations, genuinely sincere conversations with people who knew nothing about guns on the TTC. There was this wonderful lady that, I mean, I was coming home from the range, and I mean, for you guys are wondering, like, what the hell is this guy doing dragging his guns around on Go Transit and TTC? First of all, if you're following the laws and you've got it cased up, I already spoke to both their PR departments, and you're fine to do that, in case anybody's wondering.
Right.
But yeah, you're going to get asked questions sometimes, right? And then you have to use your best judgment. Am I going to talk to this person in a very public place about something that's very divisive? Or am I going to kind of keep my distance a little bit? And this lady just genuinely wanted to know. She wasn't exactly for firearms, but she wasn't also very much against it.
She
And that's
actually had
okay.
this somewhat
I'll have a
open mind.
conversation with this lady about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, yeah, this is how it goes. You know, we need a license. We got to go through this. You got to go and apply. Then there's character witnesses, and then there's continuing eligibility, and then there's another license if you want to do that for something completely. And she's like, wow, that's really involved. I was like, yeah, surprise. Bet you the liberal paid media won't tell you those things, but you know, this is why I think outlets like ours exist, like this podcast, like various channels around YouTube. Is it's not so much to try to get people to come over and become a firearms owner, or just completely like go from 0 to 100, or just fully commit. It's like, as I've always said to pretty much anybody that I've ever talked to about on the subject, you can't ever, as a prudent, rational, reasonable human being, be expected to make a decision on anything. Cheese on your fucking pizza, even, okay? If you don't know both sides of the story, why you shouldn't do it. Any rational person always has, two thoughts in their heads about, what are they going to do, or how are they going to do something. There's never always just that, well, there's only one way to do this. There's always multiple angles that you got to look at things, and that includes firearms. And I told
the
this lady,
keyword, Tom, is rational.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And look around. That's I don't know, I have trouble with that. But yeah, you're exactly right. You know what? People will listen, and there are lots of people who are interested. They don't necessarily have any interest in firearms. Oh yeah, I knew one guy one time that had a firearm. But there are some people who genuinely will sit and listen to what we're regulated by and everything else, and what we do with our firearms. And they don't have that extreme bias that takes that rationality away from them.
But that's how you can talk to some of these people, right? When they're even just they're not completely with you, but they're willing to at least give you an ear and say, okay, well,
and they don't have blue hair.
Yeah, no, don't talk to people with blue hair. That's just or pink, for that matter. Fuck me.
Right.
Pardon my French. I'm bilingual.
No, do it.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about the shades again. By the way, it's just to getting a little sensitive to super bright light here in the studio, so I had to throw them on for a little bit. But it's like half my character, so I kind of need them sometimes.
Which personality, though? Which of the 7?
Oh, there's so many. Yeah, there's this. I wouldn't even stop at 7, man. There's.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
Oh God, there's a whole fruity mix of all sorts of different things in there, man. It depends on the day and the mood.
I keep waiting for that technology that you can take a kind of a virtual walk around in someone else's mind.
Oh God,
God, I have some interesting people in my life. Yeah. Oh yeah.
No.
I want.
I'll go ahead and not submit my.
I guarantee you, some of those people, all I will see during that walk will be monkeys on unicycles banging cymbals together.
I mean, if you ever want to take a walk, in my mind, I think it would scar you for life, and I would very much advise you against it. But hey, whatever creams your Twinkie.
Yes, I do.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to remember that one.
Hey man, you can use that one free of charge. Not even going to charge you for that one. It's just anytime. Just think of me when you say it, okay?
Okay.
You're getting into dangerous territory there.
What is the correct way to answer this statement?
Maybe now is a good time for last words for this podcast, Tom. Do you have any?
Yeah, all I got to say is we have a really wonderful community here. Generally, just in Canada, there's a bunch of really awesome, wonderful people. I would say probably Mike and Rooster are a part of that. Maybe, I don't know. I've only known them. I've met them on 2 occasions.
Don't
I
you
can't really
judge me,
speak too much.
son of a bitch.
But all I gotta say is, guys, just treat each other with respect, love each other, and try to make this country a better place. Because God knows we can't count on the current government to do that. So
And stick together, for God's sake.
stick together, be there for one another, and if anything, support local business and support local media. The people that are actually making an effort to try to educate you, the people that are trying to help you out, because without those people, we would be really just living in a complete tyrannical, totalitarian dictatorship by now. This is the lifeblood of the entire industry, right? So whenever you can, support your local YouTubers, support your local podcasts, anything Canadian. Buy Canadian if you can, especially from Canadian gun shops like CSC. Give them a little plug as well, because they're helping me out in a huge way, and they've just been really nice, even just as a customer. They've been awesome, and I've had great experiences with them. Calgary Shooting Center, for those who don't know. But yeah, just support local business and be there for one another, because if we don't do that, if we falter and we don't support each other like the brotherhood that we have here, nobody else will take up the mantle. Unfortunately, this is something that has a very real possibility of dying.
Yep. Well, eventually it won't even be an option.
Yeah.
So look at some of the shooting sports. You go to a trap event, the average age is, I'm going to argue, about 60 to 90.
Yeah. Well, that's if I was going to end with anything, it was going to be the best way to really do any of this is to put a practical spin on it and just take your friends shooting. Bring your friends, bring your family members.
Yep.
And don't force them, obviously, if they don't want to go, but show them what it's like to be a responsible gun owner. Show them what you do, what you have to do, and what you want to do. And show them the fun and the community and the brotherhood and the positive spirit that exists in this community. Because I guarantee you don't have to say a word of this to any of them, but you bring them there and you show them what an amazing community this is. That will speak volumes for itself, and they're going to want to become a part of that, or at least they'll be tolerant or supportive of it, as opposed to just brushing it off like it's just something that doesn't matter, which is not the case. So, sorry, I get a little passionate about these things.
You're a goddamn
talk for another day, but yeah. What was that?
I said, Uke, you are a damn gem. Uke is one of our American friends. For the people not watching the video, listening on audio.
Bagpipes play softly.
Bagpipes playing softly in the distance is Tom.
You're all right, buddy. You know, Uke, I've known you for a long time, man, but you're all right, okay? I don't care what anybody else in that chat says. You're all right by me, buddy. Thank you.
All right.
I guess to wrap it up, thank you guys for having me on. It's been nothing but an absolute pleasure to meet both of you guys here, even though we've met before, and to meet members of your community. I feel extremely privileged to be here on the 100th episode as well. So thank you so much for that. It means a lot, really.
Likewise, Tom. This was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right. We'll take things out of here. Just before we chuck this one in the bin, please consider supporting us by heading over to storiedknives.com to maybe pick up one of the Gardner knives. Have a look at them. Chris and I ordered a bunch of these knives, had designed these knives, had them built. We think this is one of the best survival type, and there's that type word, everyday kind of fixed blade knives available for very reasonable cost. We're pretty proud of it. Working the YouTube grind pays less than running a lemonade stand, and doing what we do to try and bring you episodes like this today takes up, I've got it written here, takes up almost all of our combined Canada carbon tax rebate checks. That's, yeah. Because, 8 out of 10 people in Canada actually profit from the carbon tax. Don't you know? Anyways, we use all that money to pay our dues for StreamYard and all the stuff that we do, going out to TACOM, going down to SHOT Show, trying to get you guys some videos out on the socials and that. So have a look at supporting us a little bit more. StoriedKnives.com. Have a look at what we got. Think about supporting us. Thank you. Check us out at Facebook at facebook.com/BS podcast. Leave a review, write us an email, let us know how we're doing, tell us you're sick of our shit, whatever. Or email us direct at info@bspodcast.ca. And finally, a massive thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you, we wouldn't have a show in the first place. And thanks for doing that, Mike. Shane and Steve with EM Precision Rifles, Miles, Carey, and Cappy with call sign 66, Duncan and Rob at Both Action Coffee, Phil Odell at Odell Engineering, Doug and Niza with March Scopes Canada, Vanya and Carly with Apex Optics, Oscar with Ribstone Gunsmithing, and our friend J.R. Cox. Thank you very much again and again and again. Excellent. And Mike, you got the outro? No? I do.
You do it.
Okay.
I'm still learning.
Thanks again, everyone. We will see you next week.
But some of these bullets, as you saw, have an incendiary device on the tip of it, which is a heat-seeking device.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Welcome to your weekly dose of BS, the Ballistically Speaking podcast.